Week 2 is in the books, so here's my college football top 25. Spoiler alert, Texas is back, baby, along with my top 5 Heisman contenders. What's crackalackin'? It's your boy Bro Schmo, just in case you did not know, so go ahead, become bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content as always. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. Let's go ahead, get to my top 25, starting with the two teams that fell out of my top 25. One being Troy, which was kind of to be expected. They're facing a Power 5 school in Kansas State, probably the toughest team on their schedule. I still think Troy is probably one of, if not the best Sun Belt team, and I'm sure we will see them contending for the top 25 by season's end. And then the other team is Clemson. They may have won this weekend. They won big. They won 66-17. Charleston Southern was up at one point 14-7 in this ball game. Charleston Southern was only down 7 points. They were down 24-17 going into halftime. Yes, Clemson had a big second half, but Klubnik just didn't look great in the first half, and I'm sure once they get more into ACC play, that they will become a top 25 team for me. But there were just other teams that I felt like kind of deserved it more at this point, especially considering the ugly loss that they had to Duke. This wasn't really the dominant performance we wanted to come out and see from Clemson. But let's go into my top 5, not necessarily top 5, but my 5 teams that just missed the cut, starting with Washington State. And this one could be a tough one for some people because you're going to notice I still have Wisconsin in my top 25. And when I get to Wisconsin, I'll kind of explain that a little bit more. But Washington State, phenomenal. Cam Ward looked great. They got out to like a 24-6 lead on Wisconsin at home, and they were able to hold on. They finished that game well, and Washington State literally just misses the cut. And honestly, let's just go ahead and talk about Wisconsin here. I project Wisconsin to be a very good team this year. They have, honestly, a pretty easy schedule. This was one of their toughest matchups on the schedule. The other one being Ohio State, but they get Ohio State at home. Their Big Ten schedule isn't that scary. So yes, I expect from here on out Wisconsin to look much better. So it was hard to justify me moving them out of the top 25 when I had them so highly ranked. So honestly, if you want to substitute Washington State for Wisconsin, I got no qualms about it. Cincinnati, they got out to a big lead against Pittsburgh. They were up like 27-7. Something like that, but Pittsburgh came roaring back. It was a close game, but all in all, Cincinnati was able to close it. They looked good doing so. They are right there on the edge of sneaking into my top 25, as well as Memphis. Memphis, one of the better American conference teams in the country, and obviously looking a lot better now with Tulane, which we'll get to them in a little bit, losing to Ole Miss, which you could argue a much better competition than anything on Memphis's schedule, really. Memphis, they dominated Arkansas State. Not even that serious, right? Arkansas State, this was the same team that lost 73-0 to Oklahoma the following week. So not an impressive win, but Memphis is a team just kind of on the outside looking in for me. TCU was able to rebound from that heartbreaking loss to Colorado. They just walloped, I believe it was Nicholls State. I'm gonna pull it up here real quick. Or it was just Nicholls, beat them 41-6. So good outing for TCU. I still think they're a very solid squad. And then Kansas getting the job done, basically dominated for the most part. Illinois, granted, Illinois that struggled against Toledo the week prior, but they got it done. They dominated most of that game outside Illinois, kind of like trying to roar back at the end. I think Kansas, much like they were last year, is going to be a team that could maybe get into that top 25 at some point. So without further ado, here is my top 25. As you can see, Wisconsin is kind of the team here knocking Clemson out. As I still think Wisconsin's got one of the easier schedules. They kind of stumble here to Washington State in a close one. You could honestly substitute Washington State here for Wisconsin, but I'm willing to, at least with Wisconsin, I want to see this see this for another week or two and see how things go there. And then at number 24, they were on my just missed it last week. The Hurricanes, huge win over Texas A&M. It was honestly a pretty close one, but for all intents and purposes, Miami, Tyler Van Dyke came out, looked phenomenal. I'm trying to get a update on Cam Kitchens because he was unfortunately stretchered near the end of that game off the field, but looks like he's doing better. Don't know if he will miss time because of it, but it's good to hear he's doing well. Tulane, they were without Michael Pratt, arguably their best player on the team at quarterback, and they contended. I know that final score, like 37-20, doesn't look close against Ole Miss, but it was. They were there with their backup quarterback playing Ole Miss competitive, and Ole Miss smacked them right in the mouth right at the beginning. It was like a 3-play opening drive for a tutty, and they came back. They scored. They actually controlled parts of this game, and unfortunately late, it just didn't go their way. Tulane, I think, is for real. I think they're head and shoulders above everyone else in the American Conference, and they faced a really good Ole Miss squad here and came up on the short end. Again, minus their star quarterback. Colorado, they beat Nebraska. That was to be expected. Shadur still looking great. Travis Hunter arguably should be a Heisman candidate. But again, I would be shocked if this guy's playing like 70 to 100 snaps week in and week out. That just doesn't feel sustainable in today's game, but I guess we'll see. But Colorado, they get College Game Day next week. That's kind of cool in Boulder against Colorado State. Colorado will not be tested until the following week, where they have, I believe it's either Oregon or USC. I know they have them back to back. I can't recall which comes up first. Duke handled business. They dominated Lafayette, beat them 42-7. At 20 is another new arrival, Ole Miss, going into Tulane and getting the job done. Yes, at points the offense got stagnant. To be fair, that Tulane defense stepped up huge, but they were able to get it done. The defense put the clamps on Tulane there late as well. Ole Miss, I want to say they may be for real, but I felt that way last year, and they ended up just letting me down the stretch. We'll see with them from here on out. Oregon State, they faced UC Davis. They blew them out. There's not much to talk about. They pulled the starters relatively early in that game. Utah was able to scrape by Baylor without, both teams didn't have their star quarterbacks, but they were able to get it done. Cole Bishop with the late game heroics with the interception on a pass that honestly should have been thrown by Robertson of Baylor, but it is what it is. If they can sustain victories while Cam Rising gets healthy, then yeah, watch out for this Utah team. LSU dominated Grambling, beat them 72-10. Feels a lot better than the 31 unanswered points they allowed to Florida State. LSU, still a good team. That's why I have them here around at 17. Tennessee struggled. They hopped on the struggle bus against Austin P. They were, I think, down 6-3 at one point. They went into halftime up 13-6. And yeah, they were able to then eventually pull away, win 30-13, but it still wasn't a good look, especially at home. This is why I'm a little lower on Tennessee. Hopefully they can get things together before they get to SEC play. On to 15, North Carolina. Oh my gosh, why does anyone in the Power 5 put Appalachian State on their schedule? They did it to them last year, where you had this just close game with ridiculous, just ridiculous things happened. It was one of the games of the year, and luckily Drake May was able to pull this team to actually overcome Appalachian State. You can't sleep on Appalachian State. No passing touchdowns. thinking Drake May had to get it done with his feet, but they had like over 300 yards of Russian offense and able to skate by against Appalachian State, winning in overtime there. So kind of a scary game after a kind of a big win in opening week against South Carolina. Oklahoma, okay, they didn't have the 73-0 win this week. SMU actually kind of challenged them for a little bit, but they were able to get the 17-point victory, 28-11. So good for Oklahoma. Arkansas basically coasted by Kent State. They didn't have to do much to win that game. They were in control the whole way through. Kansas State, they went through Troy. They're a much better squad. And honestly, this team looks really good with Will Howard at QB. Number 11, Alabama, losing in Tuscaloosa. Jalen Milroe never looked comfortable. To be fair, that offensive line did not give him a lot of time, but even when they did, it was like he had PTSD. Like this dude, just he was running from ghosts at some points. Just never looked poised in the pocket, and you kind of had him just kind of staying on one read and throwing it in spite of coverage. That's kind of what led to his 2 interceptions. And yeah, this was kind of a downer for Alabama. Do I think the Alabama dynasty is dead? No, I don't think so. They can rebound from this game and still make a push to the college football playoff. So don't sleep on Alabama, but they did lose to the better team this past Saturday. And at number 10, Washington moving up with Alabama moving down. They break my top 10. Easy win against Tulsa this past weekend. Notre Dame, they had a little bit of a closer matchup there against NC State, but they were able to pull away late and just win the ball game. This looks like a very tough team with you got Esteem, you got Sam Hartman. They're very well coached. They got solid veterans in place. So yeah, Notre Dame, they may make some noise this year. Remember, they still have the likes of Ohio State, Clemson, and USC on the schedule. Penn State dominated, was it Delaware? Delaware State? Delaware dominated 63-7. Not much to talk about that game. Offense looked good. Oregon, after blowing out Portland State, they have a nail biter against a Texas Tech squad who's now playing at home, after just stumbling out of the blocks against Wyoming. Not a way they want to start it, and they were like, you know what? No, we need to prove like that hype we had prior to the season. It wasn't all just hype. We need to prove we're a legit squad. You have Tyler Shuck facing against his former team, so there was a lot going on there, and Oregon was able to pull it out with the field goal late at the end to give them the lead, and then Shuck throws the pick 6, which covered the 6.5 that I had bet. Hit my 8-leg parlay. Thank you, Oregon. But yeah, Oregon got it done, man. It wasn't the prettiest, but they got it done. And big reason why I had USC pole vault over Oregon. Here, USC just handled business as usual, dominated Stanford. Stanford, one of the worst teams currently in college football, especially in the Pac-12. My top 5 remains unchanged. Remember, I was high on Texas going into the season. They remain here at 5 with the big win against Alabama. You can make a case maybe they should jump a team like Ohio State, but Ohio State, they went out, they handled business against Youngstown State. I know it's a cupcake game, but after they kind of came out against Indiana and wasn't able to really scrape together much good offense, this is the offensive performance you wanted to have. So good on Ohio State for that. Florida, they ran through Southern Miss. Good on them. Michigan, they ran through UNLV. Remember, good teams win, great teams cover. Michigan has yet to cover this year. They couldn't cover that 36.5. So, if you're looking at Michigan, because they still got 2 cupcake games left here on the schedule. One's Bowling Green. I might be willing to take whatever the spread is. If they're going to be giving Bowling Green like 40 points, I might be taking Bowling Green plus 40. Just saying. Georgia, they ran through, who was it this time? It was Ball State. The offense looked great. Good on them. That is your top 25. But while I got you here, obviously you love college football, so you probably love the NFL draft. I have my own draft guide out. It is a Google spreadsheet, but it's got over 300 prospects already evaluated. You can get it for $30. You just got to send it through Venmo or PayPal. Check out the links in the description. Include your email because, again, it is a Google spreadsheet, but you will be able to keep up with my prospect rankings, my big board, my full evals all through the season and all through draft season. So you get this now, you get it now, then, and forever. All right, here are my top 5 Heisman contenders, starting with Quinn Ewers. I mean, how can you not? What a great performance against Alabama in the biggest game for this team since they faced Bama last year. This really truly feels like Texas is now back to being one of the top powers in college football. Big performance, 3 tutties. Good for Mr. Ewers, and you know what? You're looking good with the short hair, my friend. I still have KJ Jefferson here at 4. Again, they didn't have to do a lot to beat Kent State, so they didn't. He got 2 tutties, 48 rushing yards, only passed for 138 or 36, but again, he didn't have to do much. This guy is a very gifted athlete, so I'm expecting bigger performances from him when they get to more serious competition. And then Shedeur Sanders remaining here at 3 for me. Big performance against Nebraska. He had 3 total touchdowns. He's thrown for over 900 yards in his first 2 FBS starts. So good on him. Colorado, are they back? But they're better than they have been in a long time. I will say that. And then Michael Penix Jr. here at number 2. He had a big outing against Tulsa where he threw for over 400 yards and 3 tutties. He did have an interception in there, but that's no biggie. They won that game by a landslide. And my number 1 continues to be Caleb Williams. 4 total touchdowns against Stanford. Only 2 incompletions, so looked very good. And as Caleb Williams, he is currently the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, and he's looking to 2-peat. So Godspeed to you. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing, and as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.